This is referential treatment.
What am I saying?
We're going to go with...
Season 2. Undefined and unrefined.
A little defined.
A little refined. Season 2 has kind of got the self-explanation.
What did we say next? Like, comment, subscribe. We don't care. Do we care?
Nah. We still cuss. And it's still a dialectic between the two.
That's how we're going to start this
yeah.
off.
Yeah, I'm coming in cool.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm not high about anything. I'm just chill. I don't know.
Nothing's triggered you in a
No,
while?
nothing's, not been triggered long enough.
Really, man? All these shootings? No.
I'm just cool. I don't know, man. Just coming in cool. Don't got nothing to
be
mad about, I guess.
No. And even if there is, I'm just kind of indifferent to it all right now.
Yeah. Why for you? Because for me, it's because I'm about to leave. So I'm just glided. I'm good. You know, I'm cool.
I feel like there might be legitimate problems in your life. You just can't be bothered to care.
Whatever. You know, take it back. I'm out, so whatever. Work calls me, hey, where are you? Same place I'm going to be later. Not there. Yeah, I don't know. I feel just chill. I got nothing.
Yeah, I'll only be on the island for like 6 more months.
You?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, well, I'll leave in August. When do you leave?
October.
Okay, so like 2 more months after
Back
me.
to Georgia.
Georgia. See, I'm still chill. I don't want to do the whole thing.
Yeah.
I went full hipster, though. I've gone full hipster.
Was there a line?
Yeah.
By the way, I want it, before that segues off anymore, I clarified there are gateway hipster bands. Like, you weren't hipster. Like, it puts people on the path. It's like, yeah, no. Fuck hipsters. That Mumford & Sons not bad, though.
That is a good gateway, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I can think of a few others, but yeah, I think I've gone full hipster at this point.
It was like a prototype, John Mayer. Like, the guys are just like, oh, I appreciate John Mayer. I think
like
that
John
was
Mayer.
the beginning.
Yeah.
And then from there, you had
Well,
like
a lot of
Mumford &
old white
Sons.
people like John Mayer, though, so... And they don't think
I feel like Imagine Dragons is too poppy, though. That's not going to get you on your hipster path.
Mm-hmm. Too much. Too popular as well.
Yeah.
Wouldn't happen.
You gotta be more mainstream.
I'll explain how hipster I've become.
Okay.
I started drinking...
You're not wearing capris right now.
No, I'm not. But for climbing, those are kind of useful. But I'm not going to do it, though. No, I've started drinking coffee out of jugs. Out of jars.
Like mason jars?
Yeah.
That's up there, man.
It's up there, but... So it started because fucking coffee's blazing hot all the time.
Are they microbrews?
And by the time... No. They're just like normal K-cups, garbage. But every time I get coffee, like my mug here, it comes out blazing hot, and I can't drink it blazing hot. And then this mug is so good that it stays blazing hot all goddamn day. So by the time I want to drink it, it's still blazing hot.
Yeah.
But the jar, it leaks just enough heat that by the time I want to drink it, which is like an hour or so later, it's still warm, but not blazing hot.
That's why I have these cups.
Even those, like, burn your hands when you're holding them, though.
It depends what quality you get. I just like destroying the environment slowly.
Okay.
So.
Well, I just reuse the jar.
And throwing it away. That's how much I
Plus,
can't wash stuff.
The stuff like lids and all that, I spill them so often, but a jar, I can fucking seal that thing down.
That makes sense.
I can shake it around, I can drop it. Well, I can't drop it, but I can do everything else.
Your next step in that line is to get a French press and grind your own beans.
Oh, fuck, I did get a French press.
Dude, French presses are amazing, but it's so much effort. Like, if you're one of those, it's worth it.
Yeah.
It really is. And then, instead of spending, like, $200, like, my machine is $200. But, French presses are, like, $15, and you get a very similar quality.
That segues into my next tipster point. You ever heard of Savers?
No.
I already frequented Goodwill, but in Hawaii there's this different one called Savers, which is Goodwill on crack. It's huge. It's way bigger.
Just like, a warehouse.
It's a full department store, essentially. But yeah, 3/4 what I'm wearing right now is from Savers.
Nothing wrong with saving money.
Have, like,
I feel like hipsters don't get to take that from poor people. Like, they've been long before hipsters and Macklemore discovered thrift shops. Poor people have been going there for a very long time.
Certainly. Yeah. But non-poor people have increased their attendance to these places.
That's
for sure.
True.
Yeah, and I've gone a couple times.
The staff just begins to know you.
Already, in fact, this jacket here is also from Savers. It's a really good jacket. It's hard to find stuff my size though, so I don't know.
Extra small.
I also had sushi for the first time, and like
first time?
Yeah.
What kind did you get?
It was like the fake crab. I think it was California roll. I want to say.
Yeah, California.
Yeah, it was fake crab, and I thought I didn't like sushi, But it turns out I just didn't like the unknown. Because
could've
when I
told you
tried it,
that.
I was like, this isn't that bad, actually. I kind of like it.
Well, sushi's another one where it's like, there's one for everyone. If
Yeah.
someone's like, I don't like sushi, I was like, what have you had? And
You've not
where
had
at?
sushi.
Like, if you had fucking the bento box at a gas station sushi, probably not the best.
Sickness in a box.
But, yeah. But there's some that are really simple, and I was impressed by the taste. And then there's a whole nother level when you get to, like, actual Japanese sushi.
Yeah. There's something...
There's
I don't
Netflix
know what it is.
documentaries on it.
Yeah, that's like the... Someone Dreams of Sushi. What's his name?
Oh, I know who you're talking
Hero
about.
or whatever? What's it? What?
That guy's considered like the top tier greatest artisan, and then it's something like you have to have an apprenticeship, and everything that's about is like doing the same meticulous thing over and over and away. But I eat sushi completely wrong. I upset Japanese people every time I eat sushi, because it's a thing. Like what's the place over by Safeway? That Sakura?
Mm-hmm.
They look at me a little funny.
Well, they're all Chinese, so it's okay.
It's very true, but I'm
None
saying
of them
like
are
they
Japanese.
understand the proper way it's supposed to be
Okay,
eaten,
yeah,
like
yeah.
in between. Well, which I don't entirely agree with proper way to eat sushi. The ginger and the wasabi are just cleanse your palate before you go on to another one. Because if you go to an actual like sushi, it's not a ceremony, but just a proper sushi place.
Yeah. It's a process.
It's a process in that. Like, you remember how you were discussing that place on North Shore that has the curry, and he asks you what you think you like, and then he'll bring it up? Yeah, it's the same process of just, like, what sushi do you normally like, or they'll ask you, like, what kind of flavors do you like, what kind of fish do you like, and then they'll give you something, and you'll be like, I don't like this about it, or I wish I had this, and then they'll go on to the next step. So then you'll change you'll refresh the palate, so that you're from, like, a fresh perspective, and then you'll try it, and then you'll find eventually, you'll know, I like this item, this item, this item. Or you can just kind of be like, well, you pick. Take me on a tour. Like, what goes well with what pairs?
I prefer that.
Yeah.
I prefer not ordering anything. I want to just sit down and then they bring me stuff.
Well, that's the idea is over time, you would know exactly what you want.
I don't want to.
I never would be certain of myself. I'm certain of that much.
No, I don't like that, like, I don't know. Who cares if you like food? It doesn't matter. Stop. Just stop. Who cares?
So how I eat sushi incorrectly.
Oh, yeah.
If I order like one roll, which you understand how like rolls work.
Yeah, it's a tube.
Yeah, it's a whole tube, and they slice the tube and there's pieces of, right?
Yeah.
If I order one roll, it's the same thing. Why would I change my palate or clean my palate in between bites if I'm eating more of the same thing?
Yeah, I don't know.
But
Are you supposed to?
appropriately, you're supposed to like you'll
guess
eat a
so.
little bit, you'll cleanse your palate, so it'll be like fresh again. But
I guess, yeah, so you can enjoy each piece individually instead of the whole thing as one.
me personally, that next piece, like even if I were to do it the proper way, it tastes the same, in my
You
opinion.
just got unrefined taste, dog.
I don't know about that. I still get the right bentos, and I still get like the right rolls where someone's like, "Oh, it's a really good one." I'm like, I know.
Learn the bento box. Learn the sushi roll.
So I'll eat the entire thing, and then also I don't use soy sauce on anything, which is fucking blasphemy for them too. Also, the thing though, my mom does this, which I've also been told is blasphemy. Don't do it. But Americans love to do it.
Sriracha.
No, they'll get... That's fine, actually. They'll get the soy saucer, and then they'll put the soy sauce in, and then they'll mix in the wasabi into, like, this congeal... It tastes pretty good, actually. It's just... It changes the flavor profile.
That
Really,
sounds
you're just
solid.
taking, like, pure sodium water, and then you're adding in the wasabi's, like, distinct flavor. And then instead of, like, super, super liquidy, like soy sauce is, it makes it more closer to paste. It depends how much wasabi you use. And it helps it for, like, getting an even amount. Because you know how it is when you pour soy sauce and you weren't trying to be, like, hardcore about your sodium intake that day, but it just kept flowing? It prevents that from happening. And it also makes, like, dunking it. So there are some pros. I could see why people would do it. But once again, if you're talking about, like, cuisine from the Japanese perspective and everything else, sushi is part of the culture, and you can see why that there's a process. It's meticulous. It's intended to be enjoyed a certain way.
Because the Japanese are processed and meticulous.
Yes.
And enjoy things certain ways.
Yes. And then you just have American mentality of, fuck it, tastes good. I'll go into one place eventually.
Can we fry it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, volcano rolls are fried, so.
Oh.
And then covered with sriracha on top. So.
America.
Essentially, yeah. There's so many, like, not That's probably what they call it, the California roll, because they want to distance it as far as possible from Japan. Like, oh no, you guys made up that shit.
It's called the California roll because it's across an ocean.
But yeah, there's a whole bunch of rolls that people like, and then now there's been so much fusion in America. Like in California, there's a place where you get a sushi burrito. It's like it's just a giant roll, but they make it similar to like a burrito.
That sounds kind of good, actually.
It's definitely a fusion thing.
I need a sushi burrito of the one I had.
Yeah, I'd definitely attempt to, because they're massive.
Yeah,
Half now, half later.
I don't know what was in it, though. Like, there's something that was good. There was colors in it, like green and white, and I didn't know what they were, but they were good.
Yeah, well, that's why you're supposed to, once again, it's supposed to be like a guided process, and that you're like, that was good, I like that, I want more of that, or, not this, or you could ask just directly, like, hey, what is this? I've never had this before, could you teach me? And then suddenly you know what you like.
The whole process is weird, though. Like, what is fake crab?
I don't know.
No one knows. They're blatant about it. Like,
I'm sure there's guys pushing piles of fake crab into a processor to come out in cubes, and they're like, what is this? I'm like, I
don't know. My chemist? I don't know.
It's probably mostly salt.
Listen, but what is anything, really?
Yeah.
What is it?
Chicken nuggets. What are those at McDonald's?
Yeah, I don't know what that... Well, I know what those are. Those are like the grit and the tendons and all the non-meat parts of the chicken.
Yeah.
It gets blended up into a goop and then cooked.
I think that's
Gordon
good.
Ramsay did it.
I think that's really good to do, actually.
It's actually hilarious. Gordon Ramsay was like trying to educate little kids about how bad some food is.
Yeah.
And like how unhealthy that food is. And he's like, right, we've got here a beautiful chicken. Right, you like this? And the kid's like, yeah, chicken, yeah, I like it. He's like, alright. And here we've got the leftover. And it's just disgusting, like it's all ravaged and the bones and the mesh and like all the crap you throw away. It's like, do you want to eat this? And I'm like, no, ew. It's like, right. And he puts it in a blender. By the way, I'm butchering his accent terribly. Yeah. He puts it in a blender, blends it up, makes it green goop. He's like, gross, right? And everyone's like, ew, ew. And then he breads it, puts like breading on it, and then starts frying it, and then makes them into little chicken nuggets. And he's like, do you want to eat this? And they're like, yeah, yeah. He's like, no. You know what this is, stop.
I don't agree with that. That is like, we should throw away this parts. Very much take the Buffalo approach. It's like, no, why would you not use all parts? And if you have a way of converting something that normally isn't delicious and making it into a way where it's palatable, you should probably do that.
I think the point of that wasn't, though, like, disregard this, but to make people more aware of what they're eating, because they're thinking it was the other thing. They're thinking it was like the actual meat of the chicken, and not the bones and the tendons and the goop.
But nobody should look down on it after you've been made aware and you continue to eat it. They're like, you know what that is, right? I'm like, yeah, delicious. Delicious, and $5 for 20.
I also eat hot dogs. What do you want?
Well, but even so, my girlfriend's into fine dining, and I've gone to these places with her. Some of it legitimate. I could see why you would charge that much for it. Sometimes you're paying for the ambience of the restaurant and not sitting near the filthy casuals. But other than it being like feeling exclusive, feeling like you're in a place that's special, some of the food is completely hacky. One of my favorite places in Savannah is called Trailer Park, and everything is designed to like feel rustic / like, yeah, America, but low end. But then you see the prices on the menu. Granted, it's cheaper than most of like the higher dining. Like for its location, you could compare its menu to everyone else. It's much cheaper. But still, at the end of the day, it like they have chicken wings that the sauce is like a PB&J. It's actually really good. I'm like,
that sounds disgusting.
Like a lot of it does sound, but and then they'll have like fried pickles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, you don't like fried pickles?
I don't like pickles.
I think they're delicious.
Pickle boy.
Pickle boy.
Pickle boy.
I already warned my girlfriend about that. She's gonna be here in May.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then she was like, because she likes pickles, I was like, prepare to be called Pickle Girl.
Pickle Girl.
And we finally get to go to that hipster bar.
Oh yeah, like Bar Leather Apron.
Yeah.
In May.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to take her climbing once.
Okay.
Just to
indoor or outdoor, because I can do either.
We'll see how she does with indoor first, where there's like a safe. She might flip her shit if I try putting her on a cliffside, even if it's 3 feet up. Yeah. So I'm gonna play it safe first.
I mean, not your segue into that. I was outdoor climbing like 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And there's a group there in like I never want to discourage people from trying it or going outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
But I will discourage doing it dumbly or being super unsafe about it.
Yeah.
And there's a group there. They're all like young 20s probably, like about my age, but not mentally. And everyone's like really courteous and nice to each other. Like, they offered to like let us use their rope and their anchor they had set up like on the rock wall, right?
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, thanks. I look up and I saw their system they're using, and it's an unideal system for one. Mm-hmm. It's like, ooh, actually, no, thank you. Like, you just, do your thing. But like the whole time, like for example, one girl was like screaming, like she was trying to climb up, and like every couple of feet she'd just stop and scream, and then as they were lowering her down, she would scream again. It's like constant screaming. So we're like, this is really hard I can't.
But she came as a willing participant. So.
They all did.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, maybe that's just her, what she thinks is an acceptable reaction to things.
Yeah, but they were like 9 of them. They were all clearly new to this. Maybe 1 or 2 of them had climbed before.
Yeah.
And if you're the experienced climber there, it's all on you to make sure everyone's safe.
Or not.
And like it's on you to or not apparently or not. But you get where I'm going with this. They were not safe at all. They were fucking dangerous as hell. Like, and then there would be like one person like before they climb, they'd like look at their stuff, make sure the gear's okay, and like, hey, is this right? Is this okay? But they would get brushed off, and like everyone else is like, fuck, it's fine, just go, it's whatever. Like, no, you make sure that shit's okay. Like, he's clearly new to this. Like, she's clearly new to this. Go check their shit. Like, go make sure they're okay. You will die. This is not that safe. Like, what the fuck? And not only was it a group of 9 people like just being really dumb there and like really loud and obnoxious, but more than that, really dangerous, which is not good for anyone there. There was another person came who was clearly a more experienced climber, but he was doing a bunch of like advanced techniques that are not necessary at the time. Mm-hmm. Like he was rappelling himself down when he didn't need to because he had a belayer. So like to explain that in like more layman terms.
No, I got it, but probably for
in case like
audience,
for someone who doesn't know, rappelling down is where it's just you and the rope. Like no one's helping you. You're by yourself and you're lowering yourself down at your own pace, which sounds fine. But think about if your hand slips or your device that you're using to rappel with breaks.
Or you're tired from the entire climb you just did.
Or you're tired, yeah.
And so then fatigue kicks in halfway down.
The thousands of things that can go wrong, well, you've got no backup. You're by yourself on that. So you're falling, you're coming all the way down, you're hitting the ground. Nothing can stop you.
Yeah.
Unless you've got backups and backups, but even those, you're still by yourself. Your backups catch you. Do you know how to self-rescue?
Yeah.
Do you know how to get back up or get down safely?
If you're not knocked unconscious halfway down.
If you're not knocked unconscious, and he wasn't wearing a helmet either, so...
Yeah.
Very likely, if he falls, catches himself, he's going to hit the wall hard. And he's going to get probably unconscious, so...
Or just injured enough that he wouldn't be able to finish the task safely.
Yes, yeah. The worst part, though, was he had a belayer, and a belayer is someone who's holding on to the other end of the rope and controlling you going up and down.
Yeah.
He's got the devices he needs. He's got the experience. He could do it for him. But for some reason, this guy decided, I want to climb up and then rappel myself down. So it's one thing to practice these things, but there's a right environment for that.
Yeah.
And I don't think that was the right environment for that. Mm. And there wasn't a purpose for him to be doing it. Like, he wasn't doing it seemingly to practice. It was more so like, I'm so good at this, watch me do this.
Yeah.
But he wasn't that good at it even. Like, his shit was not right. His knots weren't tight. His anchor system wasn't correct. He had so much wrong. And at one point, I was setting up our anchor. And something happened with their anchor. So I went over and like fixed it. And it was like all fucked up. It was so wrong. Like, the whole thing, like all the structural integrity of it was just already kind of sacrificed. Like, it's already not good. Mm-hmm. It's like, what the fuck? Like, why is this guy doing self-rappel? And like, why is this guy doing all this stuff? But like, his most basic safety things are wrong. This is crazy. Like, what's this guy's deal? And like, so his friend was clearly new because like, he'd belayed before because he didn't have to be told what to do, how to do it.
Yeah.
But he was clearly uncomfortable with it. Like, he didn't know where to stand. He didn't know how far to be, how much rope to give, how much to take, the proper pace of things, the proper movement of things. He clearly didn't have enough experience in it for it to be totally safe. And even then, his buddy, who's like a more experienced climber, was like, I want to test a fall here because I expect I'm going to fall this way, which is good. If you think you're going to fall somewhere, like, you want your person to be comfortable with that. But then he didn't explain to him what he was going to do at all, and he just did it. Yeah. He just jumped off the wall, essentially, and like threw all his weight on his belayer and surprised the fuck out of him.
And his shitty gear.
Yeah, and his shitty gear, like on his terrible anchor, on all this stuff. I was like, oh my god, it's so bad. And not only that, but when he was setting up his anchor, and this was a crowded crack, like there's a ton of people there, which usually there isn't. He was setting up the anchor at the top, and you can walk around the back and just get up there, and it's like lean over the edge, which is kind of sketchy, but you lean over the edge or like hang off the edge to set your stuff up, and you hook in to be safe, but like it's still you still feel pretty weird. He was doing that, and this is like the basics of the basics, but don't drop your shit off the top of the wall. It's like a medical carabiner, like those things like maybe like half a pound, maybe, but falling from 60 meters up, that's still gonna hurt like hell or kill you.
Oh yeah.
So, this guy's, it's a different group of people. He's belaying his climber. He's doing his thing. He looks down for a second, and then a fucking carabiner slams down next to his face and hits the ground. We all hear like, like, what the fuck? And we look up, and the guy's like, sorry. Like, if you drop something, yell! Say some shit. We have a set term of rock climbing, so you yell rock.
Yeah.
And that means there's a rock falling, watch your face, cover your head.
There's still, like, Geronimo, look out, heads up.
Yeah.
Like, really...
But
no matter
what's falling, if you yell rock, everyone else who's competent in any way of climbing or has the basic information and knowledge that they need to be out there, they'll know there's something falling. Whether it's a rock or not, you don't want to get hit.
Yeah.
And that shit hurts or it kills you. He didn't yell nothing. It's crazy. Like, it is so bad. That was the worst experience we've had going outdoors there because it was just so dangerous and so many people were being so dumb. And this like back to back groups.
Yeah.
And finally, when they all left because we outlasted everybody, we stayed for like 8 hours. Whereas most people go for like 2 or 3 hours. But when they all left, we were just like, thank God. I got so many bad feelings, like so many bad vibes from the whole situation. Just wanted them all to leave. Like, you're so bad. Everyone's so bad.
Yeah.
Not at climbing, but just safety. Like, all of it.
Showboating complacency, because that's really what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't even think you need to stress that it's bad, but it will always get you to an accident eventually.
Eventually, yes. Yeah. Like, no matter how good that guy thinks he
It's
is.
like, because it's the people who are like, it's fine, until it isn't.
Yeah. Yeah. And even us, like, the first time we went out there, we were using an anchor system that it wasn't long enough. So, like, the ropes that our rope is attached to, essentially, not ropes, but it's like a cord, but whatever, it wasn't long enough to reach over the edge of a rock. So on this route, while we're climbing it, it would rub on the edge of a rock.
Yeah.
And clearly, that's bad.
Yeah.
So after that, we're like, oh, fuck, we can't do that. So immediately, my friend went and learned how to do a different anchor system that was longer and safer and more secure and the whole thing. Like, that took, like, zero effort for us to do. Mm-hmm. We immediately recognized there's a problem here, a safety issue. Immediately found a solution, and then from then on, we've used it for everything because it's perfect. It's such a good system.
Yeah.
Everyone's just like, that's a problem. I just keep going on it, whatever. Like, no one's gonna fall yet, you know? What the fuck? Oh, that's crazy. Man. Crazy.
Dude, it sounds like you've had some adventures.
Yeah, I have. I've had a really good couple weeks, actually. Especially with that, my friend I've been climbing with.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time together. A lot of time together.
Last time I loaded all your words whenever you brought up that friend. And you were like, stop!
Properly loaded this time. We've become quite a thing.
Oh, that's good.
So it's good and bad, because it's like one of those things where like you find someone who's really awesome, a really good match for you.
Yeah.
And everything's great and amazing. And you're both moving.
Yeah.
Like, she's moving soon, I'm moving soon.
Maybe that's why. Because it's kind of like a... less fear of like... I don't know, lower inhibitions, because you know it can't last. So you're...
So you make it as good as it can be.
Or maybe you're not as... Yeah. Not on purpose. Maybe you're just less cautious because it's kind of a hands-off thing.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, if we were smarter, we wouldn't be getting as attached as we are.
I spin the tires more in cars that aren't mine. That's kind of what's...
You can't drive my car
like,
anymore.
if it's a rental, oh, it's too late. I've already driven your car.
Right. Well, that implies, like, some negative use, but it's not like that at all.
I don't think that's... Well... Spinning the tires in that metaphor it's just having fun with it.
Yeah.
Because just like you were saying before, that guy, those group of people going out, rock climbing wasn't dangerous, but you can definitely do it in such a haphazard way that's beyond your skill set that something becomes dangerous. But a little bit of like carefree attitude while rock climbing, sure, you're not as safe as possible, but you'll probably have a little bit more fun.
Rock climbing is dangerous, even if you're doing everything you can to be safe.
Well, so is driving a car.
Yeah. Like, no matter what, there's still inherent danger.
Exactly. I mean, you could be doing absolutely everything right in both those scenarios, and something someone else is doing can injure you.
Or even in our case, like, we set our own anchors up, we bring our own rope, we do all the stuff of our own, and we like check all the stuff to make sure it's functioning proper, there's nothing wrong with it, it's all safe. But we're still hooking onto the anchors that someone else put there. We're still hooking onto the bolts that someone else drilled into the wall. Mm-hmm. And you can't test those until you're on it.
Well, that's a very similar for like autocross, because you're driving on a track that other people set up.
Yeah.
A lot of the judges, referees, and just people who work the track that day are either other drivers, and they're just pretty much waiting for their turn to drive, because we all like switch out, take shifts, because you have people with stopwatches at certain particular corners to keep like a consistent time. Like, yeah, there's the main clock that starts when you take off, but then you're like, for better data at the end, or if you try doing a second run, you're like, oh, here's where I slowed down, or here's where I picked up more time. So you could check your car, your tires, everything top to bottom, do everything proper. But that one guy who goes out there with a normal commuter car and has a little bit more fuck it, he's definitely gonna have more fun. So
I don't know if more fun.
No, in most cases, because the whole thing is, you come back from your run if you're getting like super meticulous, and you're like, how can I get the best time? And you get obsessed with it. Unless your fun comes from it constantly improving, versus just a day at the track. Like the other guy who's doing a normal commuter car, who hell may care, he's gonna go out there. He's not gonna have to worry about all the setup beforehand. He's not gonna worry about things that he's just gonna think about this next run he's about to do. And sometimes that will equivalent in a better time.
Probably the better way to explain that would be that person doesn't have the baggage of concern that they're supposed to have, that they should have for certain things,
well,
like
it's not
safety.
Just
and
the
like
baggage of concern, but when you're thinking of everything you have to do, it's easy to miss a step in that too. You can be thinking about too many variables at once. And like, imagine like whenever you're packing for a flight and it's like you need a bunch of stuff on this trip, you're going somewhere, it's like, oh, I can't forget my toothbrush and this and this and this and this. So you could make an entire list.
You've forgotten something.
Stick to the list.
Guaranteed.
But yeah, you may have forgot the one thing. Versus someone who's just like, I'll have everything I get, or I'll be able to find it there.
Yeah.
Packing is a cinch for them. And they may throw in so much stuff. Yeah, they may have more stuff that they don't need. But in that scenario, they could actually end up getting every wicket on their list.
I mean, curveball coming, but there's a middle ground there.
There is.
Where you do the proper amount of like concern and thought towards something, but not so much that you're like freaking out about it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm
where
just
you
saying.
still enjoy it fully.
Yeah.
But you're also prepared.
Yep. But there's just pros and cons of each.
Yeah.
And some people just naturally align that way.
Yeah.
Yours is naturally, of course, going to be the center. But I know some guys who just don't give a shit. I'll figure it out eventually.
Or not.
I never figure it out. Or you're like, what if you crash? Like, or what if I don't? What if I beat your time? And I barely tried.
What if you die? What if I beat you?
Yeah.
To death?
Well, I mean, like for the autocross scenario, where you have guys just like,
but I won.
Or they'll ask you like, oh man, what's your drive theory? Oh, what's your setup? He's just like, I just drive the car.
Yeah.
Because the level of stuff he has to do to go out to track days, because one of my friends is this textbook example of he knows everything going down with his car. He knows the logistics. He has to like load up a trailer, spare tires, spare parts. He has a pit crew essentially on all his runs. Really great runs. The only thing is he only goes to like every fourth track event. Versus I have another friend, doesn't give a shit. His daily car is his autocross car. This guy can't be bothered to check his own tread. He just shows up on track day. Maybe he has spares. Maybe they're the right size. Maybe he has all the lug nuts on his tires.
Maybe.
Dude, I'm so serious. And then every run, though, he just gets in enough days of that. I don't know, if something goes wrong, I'll go home today, but I'll be at the next track day. He beats the meticulous guy most of the time, just because he will show up and get more experience.
Yeah.
And granted, it's not like pristine quality every time, but even if you do something wrong, but you do it over and over and over again, it's possible you get to a place where you're so good at doing it wrong that the quote-unquote right way wouldn't even work for you if you tried it at that point.
Yeah. That's climbing smart versus climbing strong.
Essentially,
I tend to
you're going to either be really smart or really strong.
Yeah. That's why today everyone's like, did you get bigger? No, I've just been dumb. I've just been climbing real dumb. And just, like when we go outdoors, you know, like in a gym, everything's labeled for you, where to go, what to do, right? So you just kind of got to figure it out like a puzzle. You can do it. It's not that bad. Outdoors, there's no labels and there's no rules, essentially, so you can use whatever you want and do it however you want to, as long as, I mean, you're not going to follow the route as specified, but it doesn't really matter. You can do whatever you want to do, right?
In the words of Fleetwood Mac, you can go your own way.
You can go your own way. my way, apparently, tends to be looking for an easy way for about half a second, going, I probably won't find one, and then finding probably the hardest way and doing that instead. So there's so many times where there's a giant jug, like a giant handhold I could grab that's really easy and like a ladder, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, I use a finger pocket or like a finger stack where it's like a notch on the rock that I place the pad of my fingertip against and then stack my other finger on top of that and then pull off of that.
Yeah.
I do that every time. Which is, I've been dumb, but I've also gotten a lot stronger because I keep doing that over and over and over.
Yeah.
So what should be easy routes and really easy things to do.
Well, even apprehension,
I'm
though, because some people, when they climb, they're too busy looking for the easy route, and they never make a move, and they exhaust themselves, holding themselves in a difficult position, where if they would have just made a better move, where you're not expelling stamina at a ridiculous rate, you could have then found the next best place from there.
Yeah. That's about it, yeah.
It's analogies for life.
Yeah.
Weigh your options, but you still got to make a fucking decision at the end of the day.
Speaking of analogies for life, I wrote a book.
What?
Not a whole book, but like...
But you got the gist of the book.
About
and
30 pages done.
Hmm.
And that's like the first section. I'm going to call it there for now. And like I'm just going to readdress it over time. But yeah,
Okay.
I wrote a book.
What was said book? Don't say the Bible.
No, what? I can't write the Bible. It's already written. No, my friend's birthday. Her birthday was like... I keep saying my friend because it's also more than that. But
Yeah.
it's also less than that because it can't be more than that because she's leaving. But
Oh.
I don't know. It's like it's a weird, like we both want more, but it's like, oh fuck, we're leaving. Like, damn. But
Good enough for now.
her birthday's coming up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't like receiving like monetary gifts, and I don't really care for that either. Like I don't really. She prefers something made or like something like, meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote her a book essentially about like because we like talk about stuff like this, like we do, like oh analogies for life and all that stuff and like that. So I wrote like about 30 pages of those. I was like, yeah, that's your birthday present. There you go.
Yeah.
So when she gets back, I'm gonna give it to her. Like,
Oh, okay. She hasn't received
no,
it.
not yet, no.
You would just have to.
It's not good.
You would just have to keep getting temporary relationships, and eventually you'll have a great novel.
Yeah. Yeah. How'd you finish your book? 8 failed relationships somehow. No. I don't know. I'd like to see this girl again. I'd like to.
She's like,
She's moving, but.
how about we move on to something more? You're like a chapter?
Chapter 2. All right. I don't know. I like doing it. I always joke about like, oh, I'm gonna write a book, like my whole centralist ethos and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
I've joked about before on this podcast and everything, but I don't know, like doing that is different because I was writing it for her birthday, like a lot of it specified for her. But even though like a lot of it was the ideas that I already had and just applied to her, so it really kind of was like a first step of that, like to write your own book or something, or write your own ethos to kind of codify and like organize those ideas. But then I realized that the way I speak, the way I write, and the way I communicate, I really suck at delivering my exact meaning. I think it's a communication failure on my part. Like the actual core of the meaning I'm trying to convey.
Your narrative.
Yeah.
Like meta narrative.
So what I end up doing is I just use a ton of analogies and metaphors that if you understand as I understand them, you'll have the same understanding at the core of it. You'll kind of get the same understanding at the core of it.
No
but
one
I can't
understands
deliver
your
that
own
directly.
Anecdotes.
I know,
most of the time.
it's so bad.
Because they're based off your experiences.
That's
why it's
not
easier to
anecdotes.
make, from a story perspective, it's easier to make an anecdote that is personal to you, but write it as if it's someone else doing it.
Yeah.
Like if you had
They're
a
not
story
anecdotes,
about
though.
persistence, and you want to tell an anecdote, and you thought of this one time you did something and you tried really hard, just change it to the one time the cobbler made so many shoes he got really good at it. Like that's
what it is.
how you do
it's
it.
Not, it's not anecdotes. It's analogies and metaphors.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm saying if you have a personal anecdote,
Yeah.
the best way to relay that into a message, because like you said, it's not going to mean the same. Convert your anecdote to an analogy.
Yeah.
That's how you get the narrative in there, and a lot of writers do it. I think that's part of like Stephen King's method, where he has his book On Writing. The book is On Writing by Stephen King, and that's somewhat of what he does in his process. So even though someone like you had a great relationship with your grandfather, rather than tell the story on how Pop meant so much to you, tell the story essentially of Pinocchio.
Yeah. Of something meaning something to something.
Yeah, and then someone's like, oh man, where'd you get the inspiration from this? And it's really interesting if you see literary analysis scholars sit down and they say, this is this person's discerned meaning. But sometimes I think they're hacky and reading too much into it. But
Or
when
adding their
they
own
get it appropriately, and then that becomes well known, and then someone will ask the author, hey, you wrote about this theme, it's very clear that this theme was in there, they'll be able to like demystify or show you behind the curtain. They're like, oh yes, it is that. It came from this story or this inspiration, and then everything will make sense.
Yeah. There's definitely not a narrative. I didn't write a narrative.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's
well,
just like...
for like a one chapter, 30 pages, it would be hard pressed.
Yeah. Even calling it a chapter doesn't make sense because it's like the structure of it is like there's a title that is basically the subject of the analogy, and then like a page and a half or 2 pages or 3 pages talking about this analogy, or like here's just information like when's the moon, essentially, like hey, here's some things about the moon to consider, like it's always there.
Yeah.
You can't see it all the time, but it's always there somewhere.
It's
white. Just beyond the horizon, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem strong, but it has gravitational effect on water. It does a ton of stuff. It's stuck with us.
Gravitational effects. You're really gonna woo this woman.
Yeah, dude. There's a whole thing about gravity in there. There really is, and it's not gonna woo her probably. It was me though.
It's just you and Carl Sagan are in the same writing club.
And like how the moon seems weaker than the sun, but when an eclipse happens, our moon, even though it's so much smaller and doesn't burn and all that stuff, it can go across the sky and block out the sun, and the sun can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a ton of that stuff, and like how, even if there's like the first sentence is like, if there's clouds or if it's clear, it doesn't matter, the moon's the same.
Yeah.
It's still the exact same, it's just the situation of the Earth and terrestrial and the circumstances down here affecting what we think of the moon, but really the moon's the same. The moon's pure in itself. It's not changing. And the moon has no phases really, it's just Earth getting in the way. So the moon's the same. It's constant. Right? And I was using it as an analogy for how people's like pure self is. How like inside who you really are, aside from all like the conditions and all the circumstances you're dealing with in life, how deeper down you have like a pure self that's always there. You just have to be aware of it. Like, okay, cool, I'm always still there. No matter what happens to me, I'm still me. So that's an example of like what it's like. And then there's like, I think 9 of those.
Yeah.
Like that.
For each planet minus Pluto?
No. Only 2 are space related. Only 2, I think. No, 3. 3 are space related.
God damn it.
I've got the moon, gravity, and heat death.
So similar to play off your heat death, how you were painting the moon as like this consistent object that's like the unstoppable force that will exist on its own, pure self. I like to think of the sun as a school shooter, in that the day that the day that I go, I'm taking all you with me. That's what heat death is.
But it won't. It won't take all of it. The outer planets will be fine.
It depends how he goes.
Red dwarf.
Yeah.
Red giant, not red dwarf. Red giant. Most likely.
Most likely. But this is also like space, so it's like something that wasn't here before could come visit us and fuck shit up.
Yeah.
I would love to. Once again, we talked about like if I was God, if you could get like random statistics, you're like, what's the craziest space shit you can give me? Like the one time this wasn't supposed to happen, but it's like infinite space. So there's got to be crazy shit all the time.
The least common behavior that happens in space.
Yeah.
I don't know that too. That'd be cool. That'd be neat to know.
Like this is one time, 2 pulsars ran into each other. You're like, what?
Just 2? 2 million.
Yeah.
No, I think we no matter how far away it is, we'd probably feel that effect eventually of like 2 million pulsars. That'd be crazy.
Oh, well, eventually, but we wouldn't.
Eventually. And space is awesome, dude. I hope she likes space as much as I do, because
if not, 3 of those stories are just nothing.
Also, part of it too is like I'm partially hoping that she doesn't know that much about space, because there's like facts about the moon that if you think about in those contexts are scary. Yeah. And one of them being the fact that the moon every year gets a little bit farther away from us. Yeah. It's drifting away, slowly drifting away.
Yeah. Well, it's probably
so if you
not
tie that into like you have a pure self and it's leaving you. Oh God, it's kind of scary, but
could be leaving you, but something else could show up instead to replace it, like a new version of you.
For the analogy of the moon, not likely.
Not for the moon. I'm just hoping that something shows up one day and we're all like, "What is this?" And it makes us pull and get our shit together,
it's
like Armageddon.
Did you see that movie, Annihilation?
No.
We went and saw it. I heard really good things about it. Like, everyone's saying it's the best sci-fi, like, mind-fucky movie.
First off, if everyone's saying that and everyone doesn't watch those kinds of movies, they should shut the fuck up.
Yeah, no, it was not good.
Because if you're not a huge participant of the genre, but you've already declared the best in the genre, you're full of shit.
It was just bizarre, like not in good ways. And I was like, what is the like? What were they going for? So after I started listening to the books,
Yeah.
I think actually I was listening to books before it came out, but I like went through the books, right? And the books are okay.
I press my ears to books all the time. I understand what you're talking about.
Audiobooks, bud.
I got it.
Audiobooks. Hello. Othello, tell me your story.
It's like a conch. Sometimes you hear the ocean.
Sometimes. No, so the movie's just bizarre. Like, it had a bunch of like weird stuff, but not like, oh, it's so mysterious or so like interesting, such a cool idea. Like,
Jacob's Ladder.
oh, what's really happening here?
6th Sense.
Yeah, it was just like, it's just bizarre. Like, not good bizarre. It's just weird.
Well, someone told me the same about Space Odyssey, right?
2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah. Same shit. They're like, it's just weird, random bullshit. Unless you read the book and then you know what the fuck's going on.
No,
but that's not apparent in the movie. Because like someone was recently explaining that if you were to read the book, you would understand like the sequence with the chimpanzee or like the apes, and he's just like, you would understand that instead of seeing random apes on the screen, you in the book you get what's going on in the ape's head.
No need.
What do you mean?
No need. So the book, yeah, that's a good example because I've seen the movie and I've read the books there too. The book has this whole long story of where like what happened. I'm gonna spoil it. It's the beginning of the books, anyways. What happens is it follows the story for a little bit of like the leader or like one of the males of this troop, essentially, of these great apes, and they're fighting for water, they're fighting for food, but they're dying out essentially. And one day this obelisk just shows up.
Yep.
And that happens in the movie too. You see that happen. But the obelisk starts transferring like some knowledge upon one of the monkeys, like just an evolution of awareness, like So it does something to where the monkey's now becoming self-aware and intelligent. It becomes an intelligent life form, and it just tells the story of how like that affects the monkey, the great ape, over time, and gets more and more intelligent and starts teaching to others.
Because of the Vegeta.
Like start using tools,
Yeah.
and that's why the bone thing. The bone was a huge moment in the book because before they were on equal grounds with their competitors and with the predators upon them.
Mm-hmm.
They were on lesser ground because
Yeah.
they couldn't defend themselves well enough. They couldn't win water rights. They wouldn't do this. They couldn't beat the other tribes, the other troops. But then after he gains intelligence and starts using tools, he starts teaching tools. They start winning like crazy. Like they beat the hell out of the other troops. They get the water, and there's one like cougar mountain lion or whatever thing that keeps coming and killing them in the middle of the night, like taking their family members away, like killing them and eating them. And they finally kill it.
Yeah, their
because of the
greatest
tools.
predator.
Right, that's all it is. It's just, hey, it's implying, hey, this is how humans started. The obelisk started intelligence in humanity.
Well, when you did you read the book first or did you watch
Movie
the movie
first.
Okay.
I got the same sensation feeling from the movie. The movie shows great apes.
Yeah.
An obelisk shows up.
Yeah.
Plays some eerie music.
Yeah.
The monkeys or great apes start kind of worshiping it in a way, like, whoa, what is this? Like touching it.
Some make religion whatnot.
Right, and then you see him pick up the bone and use it to get to the water. So you see that happen, and then you see this is the one that kind of nails everything to me. Like, okay, they did a really good job of expressing this. He throws the bone up in the end. You remember how it spins in the air and then turns into the spaceship or the satellite, whatever it is? That's a metaphor for human capability. It's just a progress of like what used to be just a bone in the hand is now like space travel.
It's just
a
technology.
tool.
That's the whole
technology
thing. Technology as a tool.
So I think the movie did an amazing job of taking the concept, not having to tell the entire story of that great ape, but still telling the entire story of that great ape. Whereas Annihilation,
I think for your
does not do
average
that.
user, though, because if you're trying to evoke this kind of method of thinking, you need to provide more instructions. Because we've all opened that one piece of IKEA furniture before, and it's only got pictures and some obscure numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, clearly, if you follow and you studied this picture, it's like, or if you would have just put this screw, name this specific screw, instead of using a diagram. While, yeah, you're going to probably feel very well accomplished when you take the shitty IKEA manual and you're able to assemble it mainly correctly. And you're like, yeah, see, this is what they intended for me to do. Like, this is how this table's supposed to look. Where if you would have given a little bit more directions, more people will get to the finished table.
yeah. But in the same way that I only care about if this girl appreciates the book I'm writing,
Yeah.
I feel like the creator of whatever should only be concerned if,
The right people understand their message.
I guess, yeah. Because then, like, think about everyone else that, like, watched 2001 and thinks
Very
it's
much of a
weird
God
and wacky
complex
and
you
doesn't
have
make
there.
sense. Well, yeah.
Only the intelligent will understand.
Would you tell God he's got a God complex? No.
Yes. I have it. Mindful. It's getting a stern talking to.
But I feel like it's the same thing, like, with 2001 A Space Odyssey, if you watch it and you feel like you don't get it, or, like, you don't understand why people like it so much, you
The
could
bone is
also-
not meant for you.
So that's possible.
Yeah.
You just don't like it. That's fine. That's totally fine to not like something like that. Or there's more to it that you just haven't thought about, or you don't have the background to see, or this, all these different caveats that you can step outside yourself and look for. You can find like a billion like reviews and like
That is a lot to
analysis and
expect
all
from a
stuff.
movie.
I don't know. That's all the best movies that we tend to hold on to tend to have that stuff.
Sometimes. I wouldn't say that's always true. Like, it depends what kind of fan you are. Because some people
That's true,
just
yeah.
go watch a movie, appreciate it. They're like, this is giving me the message I needed to move on. Other people want something evoked in them, and then they gain like a hobby out of it.
They
or
walk
gain
away.
a new appreciation. But if you didn't... We talked about this last time with like the whole fifth wall experience.
Yeah, that's true.
For one, apparently you seem to like it when something presses against your fifth wall, makes it through there to something like... You're like, wow, I would have never thought of that before. Or it's like, wow, this is new to me. So it's managed to come through, and by breaking your fifth wall, you search for what's outside of it. Versus some people only, like, believe that their beliefs have brought them to this point. So their beliefs are important and sacred, and this is mainly geared towards people with, like, religious beliefs. That nothing should ever change, or press upon, or break through that fifth wall. Because their beliefs are more important than new experiences. So it's kind of like, what do you hold evident?
Yeah.
What do you hold true?
And that's why.
Because and I think you could relate a lot of it to, not to cut you off, because I'm sure you're going to have a funny pun there.
That's gone now. Fun's gone. Missed opportunity.
If you don't like your current self, I think you're more likely to search for something better than you, or search for a method to improve yourself. Versus people who very much are narcissistic and enjoy themselves will more often than not look for new experiences because they think they're everything great that they already are.
They already have the best experiences.
Yeah. Well, they think they're already in their best self. So why would they change their best self?
Let's do that.
Yeah. If you're like, I'm the strongest man in the world, why would I lift weights? Why would I try ballet if I'm a bodybuilder already? But some people, they always want to be better. I don't know.
I mean, I can't get better now. My shoulders are bigger. My neck's bigger.
Rock climbing.
From rock climbing.
You
I've
just,
gotten good.
You just got to change sports
I
now.
am good. I'm not going to. I don't like sports. I don't want to. I tried soccer once, but then like
Well, rock
my
climbing's a sport, so
ankle
you
broke.
clearly like sports.
more. I like just one. It's gonna be Olympics.
Yeah.
I'm stoked. I'm in a competition now. Competitions are fun.
Shh, call me when the autocross starts in the Olympics. Until then. Oh, that's right. We have our own sport called F1, bitches.
It's jet fuel.
It's jet fuel on cars that have so much downforce, if it went through a tunnel, you could drive it upside down like Hot Wheels.
Yeah.
You're going 200 miles an hour, and people died. People died to get the sport where it is now. They did. At Le Mans, there was an accident. It killed like 83 bystanders or something.
Jeez.
But they knew what they were getting into.
Maybe not stand by the road.
Well, then you would miss the action.
With the jet cars flying.
This
by.
is before we
The
had like
action-
cameras everywhere.
The action, it lasts like 3 seconds tops.
No, it depends where you're
They go,
at.
pew.
No. Track views can sometimes... So you can have an overhanging track view
Mhm.
with a barrier and everything.
Yeah.
But some of those when you're moving 200 miles an hour, I don't give a shit if you have a barrier. If that car goes airborne, it's now a projectile.
Yeah.
And you can't account for everything that may go wrong with the vehicle in driving. You can't account for driver error. You can't... There's so many variables at one time. It is an amazing sport. It's amazing that anyone does it as well as they do. And you want to talk about, like, pushing your limits every time. A lot of these drivers, like, if you were to sit down with them, like, they get the whole, like, I only care about how good I can be. Other people are just there doing the same thing, I'm assuming, but it's really me against me.
Yeah.
Which is inspirational for a lot of people. At the end of the day, it could just be one dude's like, I just like going fast. Like,
It's the only thing that gets me hard.
going fast. Ah! Burst a vessel at the final strip. And then it's caused so much, similar to how you appreciate the space program, it's called so much innovation in our daily lives, like professional racing. Cars wouldn't be anywhere as good as they are now if we didn't have F1, if we didn't have NASCAR, if we didn't have things innovating on these so that normal casual drivers could enjoy a better quality of driving.
Right.
And more than that, just like if the Model T Ford was never made, you would never get like public transportation to the level that it is now, and that helps people get to like work daily, where previously it's like, oh, you would have been unemployed because you couldn't access all this amount of work. But it's also changed like the way cities are set up. It's completely car centric. Roads used to be for people. That's why we still have that pedestrian law. Like pedestrians always have the right of way. But then when there were few cars on the roads, cars would have to wait until like mobs of people stopped crossing, or they would have to slowly edge through a crowd.
Annoying, wouldn't it?
Oh, every time. But then they made laws, and then the cars had. That's where they created the sidewalk. Sidewalks used to not exist in American cities, and then also parking lots used to not exist. Where today, if you look at a topographic map from the top down, most of a city is parking lots or parking garages.
That's trash. We need to stop doing that.
Like all the,
I don't like those.
you can't. It's too late down the time. What are you gonna do? It's just like.
Let's go back to horses. Let's go back.
Horses are terrible.
They are bad. I know.
One of the worst kinds. Like people don't understand if you don't ride, but sometimes a horse will just sit down and roll.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck if I'm a passenger. I don't care if I have gear, saddle, bit. Fuck it. Just sits down and rolls.
You know, not today. We're not going to Houston today. Nope.
My car doesn't do that to me,
ass.
and I appreciate every day it doesn't. My car never like pulls over to the side of the road to eat rocks. That doesn't happen.
That's the story about when I was a kid in Kansas. We'd have rodeos, and for a little bit they tried to put me in the rodeos, but I was always so bad that they just sent me. No. The clown's actually a dangerous shit job.
I'm sure.
But I had to do like the racing and like the riding and stuff.
Yeah.
But after a while, they're just like, you're terrible, so we're not gonna make you do that anymore. You hate it, you cry every time. We're not making you do this anymore.
Like actual tears?
So yeah, I was a little kid though. I was like
what a
little
bitch.
kid. I was a little kid. But
doesn't unbitch you.
it didn't work, so I gave up. He still cries every time. Instead, they had me help out and like just help run it. So like, I'd have to like use the shocky stick on the bulls and stuff to get them into the chute, right, and all that stuff, like to get people for roping all that. And I was like, I don't like to see this. It feels kind of stupid and wrong, like to be cattle prodding, to like move them through a tube. Like this feels weird, and like I don't like this. It's kind of it doesn't sit with me right. So instead, they had me just like ride the horses back and forth when they're needed.
Mm-hmm.
So like we'd have like a primary horse, like my stepdad would ride when he ropes, but then he also have like secondaries, so that you don't wear out the first horse or something like that. And our secondary was called Grandpa, because he's old and he's trash and he's stubborn like a grandpa.
He voted for Reagan.
And then so they'd be like, go get Grandpa, or like go take Grandpa back to the trailer. So I'd have to ride him bear him back. And this horse already had a mind of its own, but worse, I was like 11 on it. It's like an 11-year-old boy, tiny little kid on his back. Like he didn't give a shit. Like no matter how much I pulled in the reins and had his head turned sideways to get him to turn in one direction, he would just keep going straight. He'd keep going where he'd look back at me as he goes forward, like, you might as well not be there. You might as well not be there. But this one time, this girl, like a little bit older than me, maybe like 15, was crossing in front of me and Grandpa on a girl horse.
A mare, you mean?
A mare, yes.
Yeah.
And I could already tell he's getting some ideas. He's getting
a little rapey. Grandpa's a little rapey right now.
Get a little rapey because he immediately like followed her with his head. And I was like, no. So I started pulling the reins, like, don't follow.
Too late.
This is gonna be so embarrassing. And he followed her all the way to her trailer.
Yeah.
And every couple of feet, she'd like look back at me. And of course, I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be creepy. But he followed her all the way back, and then finally, when I got back, she had to get off her horse, tie it to the trailer, and she took like the bit of Grandpa and like pulled his head. She's like, "Where's your trailer at?" I'm like, "That way." So she had to drag me and the horse to the trailer and like tied it on. I was like, "Thank you."
I was really hoping Grandpa was gonna mount that random mare, and you were still on top of Grandpa, and that would have been your first three-way.
Thank God, no. Thank God, no. No, he's too old for that. He's too broken, but...
Yeah, you don't know that.
He
you don't know Grandpa like I do.
He caught the scent and he followed. It's so fucking embarrassing. I was a little kid.
But that's nature.
That is nature, yeah.
So whenever people are like, dudes are rapey, I'm like, no, dudes are natural.
What?
Well, like guys who like see a girl in a supermarket and like, hey, can I get your number? It's like, it's only creepy after she says no. If she says no, not into it, get the fuck away from me.
Yeah.
Leave. If until then he was just staking your interest, which
Yeah.
I don't think is terrible.
Which
I can
there's
see from
better
a
ways
woman's
to do it.
perspective because there's an element of danger, or if she gets the 20th one today, but it's like
yeah.
that's kind of just like, not to sound douchey, it's like maybe you should just take that as a compliment that you have all these suitors fucking lined up like, hey. Now that on her defense though, the second she's like, no, stay away from me, that dude should fucking kick rocks.
Yeah.
Instantly. Like,
There's
okay,
a certain
we'll try it.
extent there. There's a certain extent. Because, like, personally, I don't understand. Like, if I see someone attractive,
Mhm.
which usually doesn't happen because I don't find, like,
People attractive.
people attractive that much.
Only 2D girls.
Like, I need to... Cat girls, no. I need to... Who's that friend of yours? I don't remember who it is. But, like, I have to know someone first to start finding them attractive.
Yeah.
At least a little bit,
Same.
right?
Well,
And I
it's
feel
not
like
that I
most
have to know
people
them. I
should
just
be
have to know
that way.
that they're not stupid or annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, because, like, no matter how good looking you are, like...
It kind of matters.
You could be really good
Let's be honest.
No,
It
no.
matters
I mean,
a little bit.
I mean, if you were like horribly annoying or
Oh,
a
okay.
terrible person or like all these averse characteristics against
Mm-hmm.
you, then how good they look, you're like, okay,
That's not necessarily
you're nice
true.
to look
Once
at,
again,
but I'm gonna go this way.
you don't have to marry her. You're laughing, but I'm like,
Good point. Good
it
point.
depends what their intentions are. What are your intentions?
Yeah, that's true. That's
If
true.
neither of you are interested in marrying, it's fine.
Yeah, that's true. But you both find each other extremely annoying and hateable.
I've been in that relationship.
Seriously?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
How could you do?
You just do the do, and then she leaves, you leave, you go on about your day, but that was all we were looking for at the time,
Yeah.
so it was appropriate. It was more or less recreational activity that we were both good at together.
Yeah.
Required a partner. It's just like, I really like to dance, just not alone. And it's like, okay, but I don't want to live with my dancing partner. Like, that's how that works. It's just a different activity. With higher repercussions, at no point in dancing do you end up with a child at the end. and child
What kind of
support.
dance- what dance you dance?
In Brazil, they do.
Oh, man.
Cuban dancing's rapey. It is. Like old Cuban dancing. It's, yeah, the women, like, cover their genitals in certain parts in the dance, and then the guy has to come and, like, attempt to touch her, and then she's, like, just still dance. Like, you could still be dancing, and she could say no, or she could be cool with it. And it's like, now, I don't know. Like, you're not going to have sex in public, but now you know that
Maybe
you
you're
made
not.
the advance, and then she accepted it, and then that's it. You guys could be an item now.
It's weird.
I wouldn't say weird.
Humans
It's
are
just,
weird. To me.
Yeah, I'm sure, but also
Relative to my methodology?
compare it to the contrast where it's nothing but humans are weird compared to you.
Or I'm weird compared to
Well,
you.
take the inverse where someone's playing like infinite mind games. Like, maybe I like you with multiple people at a time, which everyone can think of at least one person you've ran into
Yeah.
where they flirt with everyone, but they only want to date one person.
Yeah.
That's got to be infuriating for the other people involved.
They're both like for me.
I know you're gonna go with the middle point.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
There's no point. As soon as I raise my
Within
hands
that
like
culture,
this.
yeah. Within that culture, here's one weird side, but in our culture, which we consider better, there's something that people do commonly,
Yeah.
and I think it's just as bad.
Yeah, I do too.
Why? I think it's fair to say, if we're thinking as like 21st century beings, the emotional damage that can happen in a relationship is sometimes as bad as you being in physical danger of like sexual assault.
Yeah.
You could make a Unabomber on accident.
I do. Yeah.
I'm
agree with
being
that.
like serious. Like if
Yeah.
like a nightmare scenario where a guy was just socially awkward
Yeah.
and he thought a girl like this is the one, she cares about me, playing with my emotions, or girl, either way, you could make a really shitty person.
Yeah.
Which granted, some of that responsibility is on them, and we'd have to like weigh each situation as like.
Even from
For
my
what it
experience,
is.
a bad enough relationship can make you do things you thought you would never do,
Definitely.
or thought you weren't capable of doing.
Yeah.
Where I think everyone's capable of doing the same things.
So it's just responsibility
Yeah.
within any relationship.
Yeah.
So, I'd say that as opposed to just like only kind of damage that matters is rape. It's like that's
No.
a primitive way of thinking.
No, that's one type of damage, and a very bad
Yes.
one.
It is.
Very, very bad one.
It is.
But that's not the only type of damage
Yep.
people can do. Yeah.
There's a whole spectrum of shit you could do to people.
There's like 12 different types of abuse that people
Really?
only can think of like 3.
Like 12?
Financial abuse is the thing.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. That's like
Mental, emotional, physical. Those people, everyone knows those.
There's
ones.
there's one to
Just
describe
like
just where you take someone's kids and you like force them to be with you over that.
Like playing favorites.
Yeah.
Like making your kids like you better or like dislike them.
Yeah.
That's type of abuse. There's one about.
You could do that with friends, I'm sure too, where like you take only your significant other to hang out only with your friends and don't hang out with their friends.
Yes.
Because then you would ostracise them from their own group of friends, and they're kind of hostage to you and your friends.
They only have social interaction through you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the type of abuse as well.
It's the gateway to abuse.
And all those, like, I strongly believe that every single person who's ever been in a relationship or not, just known people,
has experienced some kind.
Has experienced and committed to some degree, in some form, a form of abuse. And just don't know it.
Well, you could do an abusive act once. It doesn't mean you're an abusive person.
No.
You just did that. Like you can do a bad thing once. Doesn't mean you're a bad person.
Yeah. The same way like you can commit a murder once and not be a serial killer.
Yeah.
You're just murdered once. And maybe it was a crime of passion. Maybe it was something you never thought you would do and would never do again. Yeah. But certain circumstances came.
Or maybe you murdered a Nazi. Yeah, I still said murder. Like an actual Nazi.
Yeah,
but
it's still murder.
It's like people like, no, or someone's like, no, that was self-defense. It's a different thing. Like, no. That's a justified murder. That's still dead.
Still murder.
You still did it.
Still killed somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think everyone should be kind of educated on like all the types of abuse. Even though I can't think of one now, and I have been educated on all the types of abuse.
Oh.
But just being aware of everything that is there, like know how you're treating people and know how you're being treated as well.
Yep.
Like recognizing what's for you, what's good and bad.
Well, have you heard the golden rule versus the platinum rule?
No.
Do you know the golden rule?
Yeah. Treat others as you want to be treated.
Exactly. The platinum rule, which was like an addendum to afterwards, and I've heard other names for it, but the one that I like the most is the platinum, because everyone thinks of gold, the platinum's better. Treat everyone else as if they were you living another life. As if, like, everything, like, to use empathy in their shoes, right? So it's just like, if I'm not from Southside Compton, and a dude breaks in my house after everything, like, and if you were to know his backstory or trying to use context clues to weigh in what drove this person here, why did they do this, and this is very much if you have time. Like, you can't do this in every single interaction you do.
Now, I know you're robbing me. Let's sit down for a moment. Let me hear your story.
Let me hear, why are you robbing me?
Who are you?
Which is what some of the good stories do that you could never recreate in real life, is that you could see how the bad guy may have justifying motives, or what they believe in their eyes. Yeah. Or, like, they do it in horror movies all the time, where the serial killer gets, like, revealed to be a person who was once abused in an awful fashion, and it doesn't justify what they're doing now.
Just leave it at that. The serial killer or the villain or whoever gets revealed to be a person.
Exactly.
More than just like a non-existent just form of evil or hate.
Because
they're actually just more than that. They're people.
In that scenario, let's use the golden rule. You would see the serial killer and you would say that person is wrong because, or that individual, that murderer is wrong because I would never do that to someone else. Versus if you were to use the platinum rule in that scenario, you would be able to still understand that what that individual is doing wrong, but then you'd also have to understand what drove them, what got them to that place, and that helps you form a system on, if I meet a serial killer with the golden rule, I'd be able to identify them. If I were to use the platinum rule, I would be able to identify them before they're a serial killer. Maybe. Because you would be able to understand what created that scenario, what created that person, and you would be able to work on those circumstances.
At some point there, I diverged from what you're meaning, because I was like, okay, I know where you're going with this. But then when you said, when you meet a murderer and you think with the golden rule, I thought, treat others how you want to be treated. He wants to murder people, so he wants to be murdered. So you kill him.
Sometimes, yeah. If you're going to go with the full fleshed out story, because you have people like... oh God!
Like murder-suicides.
Murder-suicides, which I'm glad there's no ever like suicide murders, because a zombie that doesn't care about himself enough to kill himself, really scary.
That'd be a good movie.
The zombie, or it was a killer who committed suicide, and then he becomes as a vengeful spirit for the people he killed anyways.
There's an amazing movie called Risk Cutters, a love story.
I've told you
about it already?
Yeah.
Where people kill themselves and the afterlife is like their normal life, but just slightly worse. That's such a good concept.
Like if you worked at a post office, your life is just, the line is always longer.
Yeah, yeah. Or like the boxes are always kind of soggy, like they don't really hold up well.
Yeah.
Your car's always shitty, breaking down.
Yeah.
And the dogs are always chasing you.
Jeez.
It's such a good concept. I love that.
That
concept
everyone's
so
hell
much.
could be a little bit worse.
Yeah, or hell is just normal life, just slightly worse.
Mm-hmm.
I like that concept. That's really good.
Could you do that where the opposite is heaven's your life, just a little bit better? The dogs are always happy to see you. The packages are always great. There's just enough traffic for you to make money, but then also at the same time, you're not overburdened. You have really good coworkers, and then you drive to work, and you feel pride in what you do.
What does it say about people that it's easier to imagine hells than it is to imagine heavens?
They've probably gone through hell more. They've had more examples of bad stuff that can go wrong in their life than good stuff.
Yeah, I guess we focus more on the bad stuff.
And it's also what do you consider bad stuff? Because if someone's like, oh, this is just par for the course.
Yeah.
Everyone goes through stuff like this. The world isn't out to get me. And it'll get better. So if you have, that's really the answer is perspective. Or if someone's just like, poor me, boo-hoo, you don't understand everything going on in my life.
Yeah.
And then they lay it out in front of you because they've kept this list. They've kept this list of all the bad stuff that happened to them up to this moment, and they put it out as a pity party plea. And then...
Pity party plea.
Yeah,
It's a good band
piece.
name.
You're a hipster.
It's on Bandcamp.
And they put it out in front of you as a representation of who they are.
Mm.
I was formed by all the terrible things that happened to me. Black Panther. That's really what that movie's about.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
What's his name? Killmonger?
Killmonger said, I was forged by everything that happened to me.
Yeah.
And the other one said, I wasn't forged by everything that happened to me. I had good enough people in my life to help to cultivate a good person. And I used that to try to make the world better for others. Because I saw it worked with me. So
What if that was the dialogue in the movie?
Oh.
They meet and Killmonger's like, I'll come to kill you. And he's like, well, I've had enough good people in my life to cultivate in me a better person. And I think that's all you need as well, Killmonger. Let's not fight. Let's...
You make a lot of good points.
Counselor? Come on, Dan. Come on. Why are we on this waterfall? Let's all gather. Make a circle. Let's make a circle.
They pull out a table.
Yeah. Group hug. Killmonger, bring it in. Bring it in, bud.
You know, I finally seen the error of my ways. He puts down the spear.
Wow. Wakanda really does change you. This is no way to be, Killmonger. Are you happy? Really?
Welcome to Wakanda, where we have a happier upbringing, and I would like to start off your trip by asking, what kind of person are you?
What kind of person do you want to be? Starring... Who
Danny DeVito.
Who played Pluto Nash?
Pluto Nash.
Yeah.
Oh, Ben Stiller?
No. Ben Stiller. No.
Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
They need to remake that with Eddie Murphy.
I was trying to do the thing where you always give me wrong answers only.
Oh, it's gonna be close though. It's gonna be close. Eddie Murphy and who'd you say?
Ben Stiller.
Ben Stiller's not close.
I know. Neither are the people you give me.
I only thought it was close. What are you talking about? Close enough but different enough. That'd be a fun movie though if it was Eddie Murphy as a very positive, like helpful Black Panther who's just out to help people, but not in like you're in danger, I'll save you, but like something bad happens to you, let's talk it through. Let's get beyond the emotional baggage and scourge of this event.
I think that's kind of like
Come on, Disney. It sounds like a Disney thing.
Well, no, that's an absurdism thing. I think Blazing Saddles did it really well. Richard Pryor's whole character throughout that movie, and you have God, I hate doing it. I don't want to call him it. Gene Wilder. I almost called him Willy Wonka. I'm like, he has a fucking name, and he's been in other roles, and he did a great job. He shouldn't be typecasted for all time, even in his death as Willy Wonka, because he has some of my greatest lines in cinema history. Have you seen Blazing Saddles?
Yeah, I love Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, so like whenever he's just like comes with a more rational answer that someone would have in that story, because you're parodying the Western and it's absurdism. So you do like absurdism. That's another example.
Live action absurdism.
Yeah, once again, they're confined to a certain box of
Yes.
believability,
Yes.
but also not.
It's wacky, but not too wacky.
Well, you also get less parody shit in like animated versions, but you'll get more of whatever genre you're working in.
That's true, yeah. Anime is already pretty wacky, so
Soul Plane.
to parody wacky.
Soul Plane's great.
You have to pump it up a lot.
Yeah.
Like if someone's trying to parody, here's an example. If someone's trying to make a parody of Monty Python, it would just be too ridiculous at that point.
Yeah.
Like Monty Python hit the perfect mark, but if someone's trying to top that or to go above that, there's a reason they only went that far. There's a reason why they stopped where they stopped. It has to be a certain amount of realism and a certain amount of absurdity to make that perfect match.
Well, some people
would argue,
relative to your
yeah,
relative to what you like.
taste.
Yeah, your
Taste is heavily involved because some people think Monty Python jumps around on too many topics. It's like,
Yeah.
oh no, that was really good. Why didn't
some
we
people think
continue with that?
The Eric Andre show was good.
I don't even know what that is.
It was an
Isn't it
adult
Tim
swim
and Eric?
show. Tim and Eric shows good examples
Yeah.
too. It's like Tim and Eric, but Eric Andre. It's like the same thing.
Oh, okay.
The same show, just
Key
very,
and
very,
Peele.
very absurd.
People feel the same about Key and Peele.
I think it's too absurd.
Yes.
Really?
Sometimes. Yeah.
Key and Peele seems so safe.
Some of them go out there like
Yeah, some do, I guess. Yeah,
yeah.
like what was it, dubstep? The dubstep skit.
the skit that I always bring up is Dick Nanigans. Dick Nanigans is too. It's making fun of people who go see performing art and they have like discerning taste, but really they'll clap at anything that seems artistic. But
Like us.
the skit itself, well, I don't know about performing art, even though I will see a play later this year. The skit was just like Key and Peele got in like the morph suits, and then they were just pretty much doing slapstick comedy. And in between the slapstick, they would pause, a light would come down, and a white lady would just say, Dick Nanigans. And then the slapstick would commence, and the people would clap, and they're like, oh, it's performing art. But sometimes it's just like high society's full of shit. And they want to be in their like gatekeeper society, keeping all the plebs out, but then they're gonna like laugh at some pleb shit.
You appreciate this only because you know other people don't appreciate it.
Yeah.
Not because it's actual.
Like modern art.
It's got value to itself.
I think that about people who have bought Jackson Pollocks. They don't give a fuck about Jackson Pollock. They see nothing in this painting, but they're just like, I enjoy Jackson Pollock because I paid this much money for it.
I enjoy Jackson Pollock because I can afford to.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, this says something about my status. And
Yeah.
because you can't enjoy this, your status is lower than mine.
That brings me back to the golden rule, or the platinum rule. I couldn't do that because I want to be treated like I'm the best thing ever and better than everyone else. And I can't treat other people like that if I want to be treated like that. It doesn't make sense.
But then again, if you were raised where status is everything, you would see why they would gravitate towards the system of always hiring their status. That's their version of self-improvement, of always trying to elevate their status. Because their values that they've been taught teaches them status is the only thing that matters.
The way they do that is monetarily and like power and
stuff.
stuff.
And then in some, definitely it's how proper you are. On how you act civilized is by doing civilized things.
Yeah. That reminds me, I was trying to explain the ties between economy and politics to somebody. And I used the Model T as an example. I was showing him like, okay, let's graph out like, here's your horse-drawn carriage businesses, right? There's a lot of them. They're doing really well. They're really high marks. And then down here is your Model T, Ford automobile companies just starting. Right? There's not many of them. They're not doing so great, but they're on the way up, right? And let's say like a couple months down the line, dotted line, we've got an election coming up. And the majority of the people are employed by your horse-drawn carriage companies, and one politician is saying, and it's on the decline. There's a downward trend, and that let's say Republican nominee or whoever is saying, I'm going to make that industry great again. Hint, hint. I'm going to get it back up. I'm going to go back to where things were. I'm going to make sure all of you keep your jobs, and those who lost their jobs can get their jobs back. It's going to revert to where things were, and it's going to be great. Even though he's got advisors saying, like economic advisors saying, this is on the decline, and most likely it's due because of this better product on the rise.
Yeah, or saturation.
Yeah, so
everyone who needs a car has a car.
Yeah, I mean, most likely, sir, this is going to decline no matter what we try to do, no matter what policies you make. Horse-drawn carriage is on the way out, whereas automobiles are on the way in. So what doesn't matter? As long as he gets those votes and gets elected, and it doesn't really matter because all his only concern is the next 4 years. It's not the actual longevity of horse-drawn carriage businesses. It's not the longevity of those people. It's just getting
the next election.
The election, yeah. And after he gets elected, sure. Let's say he wins. Let's say the other person was like, a lot of the young folks are getting jobs here in this automobile industry. We don't really know what it's about, but my economic advisors, saying it's the next big thing. It's going to replace this. I'm going to support that. It's going to be good for our economy. Let's boom that one, right?
Yeah.
So of course, just by the nature of how many people are employed by each industry or each business, one wins, right? And the Republican in that scenario wins. The next policy is that, it makes it harder for the automobile industry to grow, and makes it easier for the horse-drawn carriages to maintain and revert a little bit back up.
Yeah.
But in the long run, no matter what he does, no matter how many times or ways he tries to hold back the automobile and kind of keep things as they are, you can't stop progress like that. You can't stop a better thing. Economy is going to move as the economy is going to move.
Yeah.
And those jobs from that horse-drawn carriage businesses are going to go away. But more jobs will be created by the growth of the automobile industry. And politicians and anyone seeking power can use these scenarios on either side of these scenarios just by timing
Of
alone.
a populace, yeah.
Yeah, of populace. To promise them what they want, despite knowing that in the long run this isn't what's best for them. And he's like, okay, I understand that example, I understand what you're saying. Now a politician can use that to get elected. But what about like Pittsburgh and the steel industry and like Trump's promises now about how he's gonna make America great again and all that stuff? I was like, okay, bud, it's the exact same scenario. Now just replace the horse-drawn carriages with Pittsburgh, with the steel industry, with the coal industry, with the gas, natural gas. All these industries he's involved with, all these industries he's making promises to. There's a lot of people employed in those. There's a lot of money in those, and it's on decline. While we've got better, quote-unquote, products on the way up that they're making policies and stuff to repress for as much as they can because it's eventually gonna have to switch. They
Yeah, like
have to take over.
weed right now.
Yeah, we're on our way to a service industry more than a production industry, no matter what.
Yeah.
And the reason he's asking this was because like the whole tariff thing, like the whole between Korea and between Canada and Trump saying, well, we're going to renegotiate these free trade agreements because we're not getting the benefit out of them. Well, no shit, you're not getting the benefit out of them because America's a big country, and our ability to buy non-tariff, non-taxed Korean or Canadian products is a lot higher than Korea's ability to buy American products that aren't taxed, and Canada's products. That
And
aren't
also
taxed.
just the pure number of what we can produce locally at what price versus the cheaper good that does the job. And yeah, it may not have that stamp that says made in America, but you're probably going to think economically, not, hey, I should buy locally only because that's going to improve the sense of the dollar. And then you could say that the same for the citizen too, which you kind of have to accept that this works both ways. If I'm the policymaker making the tariffs, you also have to understand every citizen votes with their dollar. And if you were to do a true laissez-faire, let the market do as it will, capitalism, which I think is the purest form of capitalism, you're going to have to accept the fact that some businesses rise and sometimes fall, but that's your luck, kid.
Yeah.
So play the game where you will, and play the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, the goal isn't to have one economy and it be the same forever.
Yeah.
The same way it shouldn't be with our constitution or anything, really.
Yep.
It can't be the same forever. Your goal should be to maintain as much as possible and stop the economy or the government or anything, really,
I would say the abuse of things.
from dropping too steeply in times of transition. If you can smooth out that transition as much as possible, that's great.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're Pittsburgh...
If you're a steward of a system.
Yes.
As opposed to being a direct influencer in a system.
Yeah.
For whatever motives you have.
Your concern shouldn't be the steel industry. Your concern shouldn't be coal. Your concern shouldn't be Pittsburgh as a whole. Your concern should be the goodwill and the well-keeping of the people involved in those things. And if you can see that their industry is declining...
All of them, not
all,
the
yeah,
ones
all
that
of
will
them,
get you elected.
Yeah, all of them. All
Yeah.
of them. So ideally, what a politician should be saying is that this industry is on decline. It's being replaced by this industry.
Well, they should be educating. They should be explaining to the people, and then maybe if you have decent citizens, they'll say, "Oh, I see. This is the best decision for all of us." Clearly, we didn't know these things. You know these things, and then you explain your plan for them. They're like, "This is why you're in charge."
Like a politician came out and said, "Listen, I'm Republican. You're Republicans. This is your industry, but
your industry's stupid.
All the best minds looking at the economy here, the trend is on the down. It's coming down.
Yeah."
And your industry will not go away forever. The same way the horse-drawn carriage industry hasn't gone away forever. There's still businesses that make horse-drawn carriages at a profit. Not as many as there used to be, of course, but the economy can't sustain that many of those businesses anymore. It's just not what the economy does anymore. You're going to have to find something else to do. And we're going to try to help you as best we can.
Yeah.
We're going to do job retraining. We're going to do education stuff. We're going to do this, as much as possible. And, hey, this industry is on the way up. Let's not try to fight that. Let's make sure this industry that's new and burgeoning comes in strong, comes in safely, comes in properly, and gets the support. And you have skill sets. You've done this job for generations. Okay, well, you're steel engineers. Okay, to cut out the steel, you're engineers.
Yeah.
Or there's some sort of skill you can transfer somewhere here that you can move on to. And yes, it sucks. Yes, I understand that you've been doing this for generations. It's in your blood. It's in your family to do this thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, take a step back. Look far enough back. There was a time that your family did something before it did that.
Yeah. Well, instead of pumping new blood into a dead animal, you could instead improve the unemployment process and saying you could even do it like a job base. Like, okay, the steel industry's dying. Well, if you go and ask for unemployment and say, hey, I was a steel worker, you provide proof, you make that process easier from like front of the line privileges because you artificially said, this thing's dying, we're just going to let it go like grandma. So you help, like you said, you facilitate the transition. And you make policies to get them ready for the next step. Burying grandma. And eventually, they get a new grandma.
Yeah.
Everyone wins but the old grandma.
Yeah.
She's dead. Thoroughly dead.
Like, just to remind people,
And buried.
like, there was a time before whatever's at the top was at the top.
Yeah.
Like, it replaced something else.
That happened
Something else
with
is
my
gonna replace
mother's
that.
business because she did taxes for 2 generations. My grandfather did it. He still does it. She provided... she also helped with like immigration cases and then legal affairs and document translation. But she had to branch out because less people kept coming with their taxes for tax advice and help. Unless you have like really specific or you're itemizing or out of the norm, they still come to her. But so she has significantly less business. She's making less money, and she's like, "Why? Why did this happen?" I was like, "Do you know that you can now just take a picture of your W-2 and then a lot of these apps like H&R Block has it, and it'll do a simplified
It
tax form
pre-fills
for
it
you.
for you.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like it's pretty much idiot
Dude,
proof.
once a year, TurboTax, I click through that shit as fast as I can. I'm
Or
23,
or just
I got
software.
nothing.
Exactly.
Click.
Exactly. Where before she just had all kinds of people come to her. Some years she made 6 figures. I remember when she made 6 figures.
Mhm.
Now she's like, oh, it's not the same it used to be. She's like, I'm just
Yeah.
lucky everything's paid off. Otherwise, I would be going broke. And she's changing her business now. But I had to say like, hey, that's part of capitalism. And then people forget that. Why I mean people, I'm thinking of like my people, like someone who had an immigrant before them or is an immigrant, and that they think of the American dream. The American dream hasn't failed you if you've specialized and gone to a certain portion of the economy. That's just part of the American dream. And then whenever you meet dream versus reality, and the reality of the situation is you can work a really long time and have nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
Or you can do very little work and just get lucky.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the great thing of America versus if you're in a different country and you just know if I work really hard, I'll survive and I'll be consistent working till I die. Versus here, you can go one of 2 ways.
So I just don't give a shit about work.
Yeah. Well, so you're paying for the chance for mobility. You're paying, or when I say paying, I don't mean monetarily, like to get to this country.
Mm.
With that level of effort and our style of economy, and if it was truly laissez-faire, and you had like all the politics out of it.
Maybe a worse situation than it's in now, personally.
If there was no policy?
If there was no controls, no like forethought to things.
No, yeah, I
Just
agree.
pure, like big dog wins.
Well, there has to
Go.
be some. Well, yeah, monopolies would appear.
Yeah.
So you need a certain level of policy to prevent monopolies. Like I said, abuse of the system.
Yeah.
Being a steward of the system isn't the same as being a
Yeah.
tyrant. You're just there to facilitate the most fair scenario.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get rid of all of it. That's another thing where someone's like, "That's a monopoly. It needs to be destroyed instantly." It's like, well, was it a monopoly of its own will, or did it simply have the best product? And because it had the best product, it was able to get leverage on everyone else, and then it continued what businesses do. You want it. You have a model for infinite growth, and that's not evil of the company to do. It's not evil for them to want to buy out their other members because at this point they have people on their payroll. Of course, they want to keep themselves employed.
Yeah.
So, after a
It's
while,
a pretty safe job too,
these groups of people
for people who have the
become
job.
their own body, and they think of themselves like so many small mom and pop places that would later become bigger industries. Like even look at Wendy's or McDonald's or something. They're all small. They're like, our staff is our family, and they can keep that all the way on such a large level, even if it's disassociated. You started off with goodwill and intention,
Yeah.
and now you really are liable for these people's like their family's welfare, their health care. So that you have responsibility to your own. But then after a certain while, you have responsibility to society. But that
I'm not.
if this is cyclical,
Yeah.
it will go into infinite motion.
I'm not convinced modern business has stuck to that ideal.
In some scenarios, it has, and some it hasn't. Because nonprofits, like true nonprofits, exist.
Yeah.
And they do really awesome things in terrible countries. Like they will leave our country and go like build wells in the Congo, or like help out people in Syria, Doctors Without Borders. So it's very cherry picked.
Mm.
And then you have the other examples where all they want to do is increase their revenue and split it among their employees, and then you provide that ladder, you provide that chance that one day you really could, no joke, have a corner office in Manhattan or whatever you dream of.
If you want that, yeah.
Yeah, if you want that. We're at our time. We're over time. We gave him a little bit extra today.
You're welcome.
Any closing thoughts?
I don't know, man. Just chill.
I advise that people try practicing using the platinum roll this week. And the first thing you could do is imagine if you were us, how we would want you to like, comment, or subscribe.
I hate you. I hate that phrase. I hate everything.